Well, looking back on your life, have you ever had someone you were leading who you didn't particularly want to be following? Perhaps it was a boss, or maybe someone in government, even one of your parents. Or regardless who it was, what was it about them that made it challenging for you to follow? My guess is that they probably lacked grace in their leadership somewhere and in interactions. You know, most of us wouldn't deny the fact that we're more critical of others and much more quickly than we are of ourselves. You know, we all have this self-serving bias that it always helps us see ourselves in a better light than others. And it's just this selfish nature we have. But what do we do when God calls us to become leaders and influencers of others? How do we become leaders of grace if we just naturally have this selfish bent? Well, grace is God's plan on both sides of heaven. And so if you're a follower of Jesus, that makes you an influencer in this world. And grace is the culture that Jesus is asking us to create here on earth. He's counting on you and me to get his fingerprints all over anything and anyone that we come into contact with. He wants you to live a life that makes others hungry for something more. So whether you're a parent, you lead your work, maybe you're involved in your kid's school or somewhere else in the community. If you're in a place of influence over other people, Jesus is looking to you to be an influencer as a giver of grace. The Apostle Paul is a personal favorite of mine in the Bible, and I think it's because he lives in this space of grace and truth regularly, and he admits what a horrible person that he was before he understood and believed in Jesus. And yet once Paul's heart was changed by Jesus, his life did a complete 180. I want to read today from 1 Timothy chapter 1, verses 12 and 14, and it says this: I thank Jesus Christ, our Lord, who has given me strength to do his work. He considered me trustworthy, and he appointed me to serve, even though I used to blaspheme him, those who followed him. And in my insolence, I persecuted his people. But God had mercy on me because I did it in ignorance and unbelief. Oh, how generous and gracious he was. He filled me with the faith and love that come from him. You know, Chad's mentioned more than once before that our greatest impact in life may not be in what we do, but in who we raise. And I just want to add a tad more to that, pointing out that many of you aren't just raising children, you're actually raising people, employees, neighbors, extended family, anyone in your life who you have a relationship with. And once we realize that we have multiple sets of eyes on us and we accept this opportunity, it's so important that we self-reflect to make sure that the fingerprints that we are getting all over others are actually the fingerprints of grace that Jesus would be seeing if they were his own. I want to be the kind of leader who models grace and truth in my influence with others and in my decision making. And I want that for you too. So I wanted to just draw some attention today to some basic markers that we should see in our life if we're hoping to be influencers of grace. First, we've got to learn humility. We can't think too highly of ourselves. And like Paul, we have to admit we're weak and we miss the mark regularly, and we need Jesus every day. Man, we need to seek God. We need to spend time with him regularly and in prayer and in his word and in worship, learning more about his character and how that character should be shaping our own heart and thinking and our behaviors. And we need to deal with our junk, especially the things that the Spirit's trying to draw attention to in our life right now. Because we all have habits and hurts and hangups. But the question is, have you dealt with these things? Who in your life have you given permission to speak into any of the issues that you have going on? And if you haven't done that, you need to. We also need to invest in people, to truly care about them, the ones we're leading, and not just what they're doing for us. We need to use our position to grow them and not the other way around. We need to relate to them, know who's in their life and what's going on in their life, and even let them in to what's going on in your world too. And we do need to self-assess regularly. How are we doing in key areas of our life, in our love for God, in our marriage, in our family? How are we doing with our time or our health or our social media? Our attitude, in our thinking, in our traveling. Well, I want to end today with some quick words from John Maxwell, Words of Grace and Truth, that say, influence is developed daily, not in a day. Well, I hope today you will do something to contribute to being an influencer of grace, because what we do daily over time becomes our legacy for the kingdom. Have a good day, guys.